Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is episode 22 of your daily Baltimore sports podcast, and today we've got no Orioles game, but it is Monday, so that means it is NFL Mock Draft Monday. It is the final Mock Draft Monday before the draft this Thursday, and it's officially draft week. And we're going to start off draft week today, obviously on Monday, with my final NFL mock draft going into the draft Thursday, and also tomorrow we're going to be doing some stuff regarding the Ravens and who I would like them to pick and some selections that I think that they have. And then also we'll do that again on Wednesday. So next 2 days we're going to be talking about Ravens draft scenarios. Obviously, Baltimore Sports Podcast, we're going to be talking about the Ravens, obviously. But today, final NFL mock draft. Let's get right into it. Going into this mock draft, obviously this is the fourth one that we've done so far of Birds of a Feather. And, I mean, yeah, look, the NFL draft is obviously one of my favorite times of the year. And, it doesn't really get much better than the draft. But I will say before going into this draft, I think that the first 8 picks in this draft, the 8 picks that you'll see me pick, I think they're pretty much set in stone for this Thursday. I would genuinely be shocked if... maybe not the order is exactly correct, but I would be genuinely shocked if these aren't the players that are selected here. And starting off with number 1, the Tennessee Titans select quarterback Cam Ward out of Miami, Florida. And again, this pick seems extremely obvious to me and everyone else on planet Earth that is doing mock drafts. Cam Ward, over the past 3 weeks, really over the past month, to be honest, he has kind of claimed himself as the first overall pick in this draft. I know the other day, I think he was streaming and they asked him who the best running backs are in the NFL, and he said Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, and then also they asked him the best receiver, and he said Calvin Ridley. So if that doesn't answer the question of where Cam Ward's going, I don't know what will. Tennessee's his spot. There's not really much to say about it. I mean, that's going to be the selection. Going over to number 2, the Cleveland Browns select cornerback and receiver Travis Hunter out of Colorado. I mean, he's a generational player. I mean, the things that he does on a football field are incredible. He's obviously the Heisman winner. He's incredible. And as a Ravens fan, obviously, if this is the selection, which I think it's going to be, it's either going to be him or Abdul Carter. But I really think that as of right now, it is going to be Travis Hunter. But as it stands right now, I think this is the pick. As a Ravens fan, obviously, this is going to be annoying because Travis Hunter is such a good player on the football field and such a versatile and dynamic player in this draft. Arguably, the most dynamic player in this draft as well. So, Travis Hunter, amazing pick for the Browns. And, I mean, yeah, not much to say. He's incredible, and this pick is going to be I think this is going to be the pick. Number 3, the New York Giants. I'm going to have them selecting Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State. Now, Abdul Carter, to me, is the best player in this draft. He is my number 1 player on my big board. Abdul Carter, he's incredible. He's just like a Micah Parsons. Obviously, went to the same college, wore the same number. He is an absolute stud, and the Giants would just add to their already stacked pass rush that they have. Obviously, they have got Dexter Lawrence, they've got Brian Burns, they've got Kayvon Thibodeau, and now they're adding on Abdul Carter. So I think it makes a ton of sense. Again, there's no such thing as too many pass rushers. Such an important position. Obviously, you saw what the Eagles did this past year and how their pass rush was able to just dominate them all the way throughout the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. But being with the Giants and being in the division with the defending Super Bowl champions, and also being in the division with Jane Daniels, who is going to be the next dynamic generational quarterback in the league, having a very good pass rush is going to be super important for that division, especially with all the talent in there. So I think this is a slam dunk home run pick for the Giants. Makes a ton of sense, and I think that at the end of the day, whether the Browns pick Abdul Carter and the Giants pick Travis Hunter, either way, whatever the Browns do is going to, help with the Giants pick, and they're just going to pick the other guy. These are the 2 best players in the draft, in my opinion, and I think that the Giants and the Browns are going to take both of them. It just depends on which one goes where. But I think it's going to be Travis Hunter to the Browns and Abdul Carter to the Giants. And going over to number 4, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell tackle out of LSU. Obviously, this pick is to protect Drake May. Obviously, Drake May is your franchise quarterback for the future. You go out, you protect him, you do everything that you can to make sure that Drake May can stay healthy, be protected, and do what he needs to do for the Patriots to succeed. Obviously, the Patriots had an incredible offseason. They went out, they got Milton Williams, they got a bunch of great guys on defense. They've got, obviously, Mike Vrabel as their new coach. They got Stephon Diggs in free agency. And they go out and get the best offensive lineman in the draft to go out and protect Drake May. And I mean, I think this pick could potentially be Armand Membou if they like him more. But all signs are right now pointing that Will Campbell is going to be a Patriot. And I think that Mike Vrabel would love this pick as well, being the head coach. Going to number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to pick Mason Graham. There isn't much to say about this pick. He has been probably the most certified, surefire pick for me in this draft. He's incredible. He's a stud. Jacksonville was one of the worst teams in the league last year in terms of getting to the quarterback. Mason Graham, incredible nose tackle, D tackle guy. He's great. A stud, one of the blue chip players in this draft. And I think that he's going to fit perfectly in Jacksonville. They don't really got to worry about up front. It fills a big hole for them. And, I mean, yeah, it just makes a ton of sense. There's much to say about it. Mason Graham is incredible, and I think that this is going to be the pick. Going down to number 6. With pick number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders select running back Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. And this pick is bread and butter. Again, Pete, if you look at the past Pete Carroll offenses that he has coached, you look at guys like Chris Carson, you look at guys like Kenneth Walker, obviously Marshawn Lynch. He loves to be on teams with great quarterbacks, and it would just make a ton of sense that this is the pick and that this is the direction that they go. And, I mean, Ashton Jeanty's a stud. He's the best running back in this draft. He was the runner-up to Heisman. Amazing selection. Amazing pick for the Raiders. Obviously, you got Geno Smith there. You got Brock Bowers there as the major receiving threat and receiving weapon over there. Obviously, Jacoby Myers is super underrated. But if you look at that running back room for the Raiders, it's very thin. Adding Ashton Jeanty there would make that offense be a little bit scary and pretty interesting as well. So Ashton Jeanty, I love this fit. I was having Ashton Jeanty go to the Raiders for a while now. I think in every single mock draft that I've done so far on Birds of a Feather, I've had Ashton Jeanty going there. But it just makes too much sense at the end of the day. Going down to number 7, the New York Jets select Armand Membou, tackle out of Missouri, but you know what I mean. So, Armand Membou, stud. He's incredible. He is the 1A, 1B guy with Will Campbell in terms of the best tackles in this draft. And at the end of the day, I think the Jets either go on Membou or they go Tyler Warren. Either one fills a hole. You either go out and you protect Justin Fields for the future, or you go out and you give him another weapon for the future. And I think the smartest decision and the decision that they're going to end up making is going to be Armand Membou for the New York Jets. He's a stud. He's amazing. One of my favorite players in this draft as well. He had an incredible combine. He fills a big hole for the Jets. And if Justin Fields is going to be that guy for the future, I think that this is going to help out him or whoever else they end up bringing in for the future. Membou's a beast. The Jets are going to love this pick. I think it's a slam dunk pick for them, and it just makes a ton of sense. Going over to number 8, the Carolina Panthers select edge, Jalen Walker, edge out of Georgia. Not much to say about this. Again, Jalen Walker has been the guy that I've had the Panthers going in every single mock draft that I've done. He's an absolute stud. He stands out on the film sheet, stands out on the stat sheet, stands out on film for Georgia. You had Michael Williams there, you had Malachi Starks there, you have Jalen Walker there, but Jalen Walker is an absolute animal. He is a beast. And again, the Panthers lost Brian Burns, and they go out and get their Brian Burns replacement. They go out and get their edge rusher for the future and their staple of that defense for the future in Jalen Walker. Obviously, I think they could address receiver later, but I think Jalen Walker is a great fit for them right now. And then going over to number 9, going over to pick 9, the New Orleans Saints. And again, I'll say this again. I think these top 8 picks that I just selected for those teams, I think they're almost guaranteed in my opinion. I think that these picks make too much sense, and I think that The only things that I can maybe see being different are Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter being switched, and then maybe Tyler Warren instead of Armand Membou. But at this point of the off season and the draft season and where we are right now, obviously the draft being this Thursday, I think that these are the selections that are going to be made for the top 8. But I think that the draft really starts at pick number 9, and number 9 is the New Orleans Saints, and they could go multiple different things. They could go receiving weapon, they could go defense, they could go corner, they could go edge, or they could go quarterback, because we do know about the Derek Carr situation with quarterback. We do know that Derek Carr is dealing with a shoulder injury that might make him be out for the rest of the year. And the past 2 mock drafts I've had them going Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to be doing it one more time. I'm going to have the Saints selecting quarterback Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. I love Shedeur. I love Shedeur as a player. I think he's going to be great. I know a lot of people have their opinions on him and stuff like that, but as a passer, as a pure passer, in terms of the accuracy, he's spectacular. He's one of the best. In my opinion, he's the best pure passer in this draft. I think the decision-making needs some work as well, but I think Kellen Moore will help out a lot with the decision-making, and I think pairing up Kellen Moore with Shedeur Sanders and obviously Chris Olave as well, if you pair those guys up for the future, I think that this Saints future is very bright with Shedeur Sanders there, and I think that if he's there at 9, I think the Saints just have to take the pick there, because whenever you see a franchise quarterback that's available for you to get, I think you just have to make the selection. Because you never know when you're going to have that opportunity again where you're going to be able to pick a franchise quarterback. So I think Shedeur to the Saints makes a ton of sense. Going over to number 10, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears could do a bunch of different stuff here. They could go possibly running back. They could go they could go defense. They could go edge, or they could go another offensive weapon. And in my opinion, I think someone that fits in perfectly with this team, and someone that I think is going to be taken here, mainly because of the new head coach that they got. That's going to be Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end. Tyler Warren's a beast. He's one of the best tight end prospects we've seen in recent memory. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, Brock Bowers, and Tyler Warren are the 3 guys that come to mind when I think of tight end prospects recently. He's a monster, and it gives Caleb Williams just another target to throw to. Obviously, you have DeAndre Swift at running back, which I think that they'll address running back still later on down the line. But you've got DeAndre Swift at running back. You've got DJ Moore. You've got Rome Odunze. You've already got Cole Kmet there. You add in Tyler Warren, so you can run kind of a 2 tight end set. And then obviously you have Caleb Williams throwing the ball. And also Ben Johnson is the coach, and Ben Johnson loves to utilize everybody on offense, spreading the ball out all over the place. And Tyler Warren would be a great addition to this team and just another weapon that Ben Johnson would love to have on his team. And going down to pick number 11 with the San Francisco 49ers, I think that they could do a bunch of different stuff as well. I think they could go corner. I think they could go D-line. I think they could go O-line. But right now I'm going to have them taking Walter Nolan, D-lineman out of Ole Miss. This guy is a monster. He has risen up draft boards significantly within the past few weeks, and it's for good reason. Walter Nolan, in my opinion, is right behind Mason Graham as the best D lineman in this draft. And the Niners, again, they could focus on secondary because they got beat up during the secondary in the offseason. They can maybe focus on O-line because they could go get a tackle to be the eventual replacement for Trent Williams. But in my opinion, I think they're going to go D-line. I think that they want to help out the trenches up front for the defense. They go out and get Walter Nolan. I think he's a great player. And I think this would, for some people, be the first surprise of the draft. But I don't even really see this as a surprise. Walter Nolan is a great player, and I think at the end of the day, this is going to be the selection for San Francisco. Going into number 12, the Dallas Cowboys select... who are we going to have them pick? I'm going to have the Dallas Cowboys select Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. Now, Matthew Golden, again, superstar speed. I think he's got great talent. And I think in terms, not even just the player, but I think the fit of Matthew Golden fits so well with Dallas. It's going to open up the field so much for CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, you have CeeDee Lamb, great route runner, overall amazing receiver. And then you pair that with Matthew Golden, who is just a speedy downfield threat, kind of like an Xavier Worthy, obviously like a Tyreek Hill as well. Matthew Golden can be that guy. I think he can fit great in this Dallas offense. And he also stays in the state of Texas as well. So Matthew Golden, I think this is the pick here. I think they could go to Torrey McMillan. They could go offensive line maybe. But I think Matthew Golden is the pick here. There's been a lot of signs pointing towards Matthew Golden being the guy that they select here. And I love the fit here for them. And I think that this could be a great pick for Dallas. And going to number 13 with the Miami Dolphins. Now, I've been kind of torn between two different people here. I've been looking at Will Johnson. I've been looking at Jahdae Barron. And I've been looking at maybe even an offensive lineman as well. The pick for Miami, for the most part, was offensive line for a while. But recently there's been a lot of ramped up rumors and thoughts that this could end up being corner. Obviously, Teron Armstead did retire recently for the Dolphins, so filling his spot is going to be super important to also keeping Tua healthy. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. You could go corner, you can go offensive line. But I think I'm going to have. Oh my God, I'm gonna have them selecting. I'm gonna have them selecting Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. We're gonna go back-to-back Texas boys. Kelvin Banks Jr. stud. I think they need to go out and get the Teron Armstead replacement. I could easily see them going corner as well, whether that's Jahdae Barron or whether that's Will Johnson, but I think they need to go out and they really need to protect Tua moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if they go corner here, but protecting Tua is extremely important for them. Obviously, with all of the concussion injuries in recent, over the past with Tua, I think making sure that he's protected is extremely important. And also, with the Teron Armstead retirement, I think Kelvin Banks could slide in there and be a perfect replacement for Miami. And going to pick 14 for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to have the Colts right here taking Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Now, this is the first time that I've had this selection be Colston Loveland for the Colts, and I'm doing this because the Colts need help at tight end. They also need help with secondary, which they did address in the offseason. And that was their other biggest need was, tight end and secondary. They addressed their secondary a lot in the offseason. They could maybe go edge here. But at the end of the day, I think that the Colts need a tight end. They need another receiving threat. They need a reliable guy that they could also go to. And I think that Colston Loveland also is an amazing tight end. Tyler Warren's obviously, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, the best tight end in this class. But Colston Loveland is a pretty close second. He's a great tight end for Michigan. He's a very good route runner as well. And he's a big body guy as well. Obviously, he's a tight end. But this could give Anthony Richardson just another target to throw to. And I think that Colts fans would be upset that they're not getting Tyler Warren here. But I wouldn't even say that Colston Loveland is a settle. You just get the second best tight end in this class. He's spectacular. And I think that he would be a perfect fit for the Colts moving forward. Going to number 15, pick 15, the Atlanta Falcons select Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. Now, it's no secret that the Falcons need severe help when it comes to getting to the quarterback. They are among the worst in the NFL at doing that. And Mike Green is an absolute stud. He had one of the better seasons in all of college football this year for a pass rusher, and then he had an incredible combine and also an incredible senior day as well. The senior day was really the thing that popped out to a lot of people in his off season in his draft process. But Mike Green's a stud. I can see him fitting very well with the Atlanta Falcons, and I think that the Falcons go out and get their edge rusher for the future, fills a very big hole, and they move forward with that. And now going over to the Arizona Cardinals. Now they could go D-line, they could go O-line, or they could also go corner. But I'm going to have the first cornerback being taken off of the board here, and I'm going to have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. Now, Will Johnson is a stud. For a lot of the draft offseason, going into this season of college football, Will Johnson was projected to be like a top 3, top 5 pick in the draft. He didn't have an incredible year, and then he also kind of didn't have the greatest, draft, pre-draft process with interviews and media interviews and stuff like that, and combine as well. So Will Johnson on that end kind of tanked his draft stock a little bit, but the potential of Will Johnson is still extremely high, and the potential of Will Johnson is, in my opinion, higher than everybody else, every other corner in this draft. And in my opinion, he is still overall the best corner in this draft. I know there was, for a little period of time, Jahdae Barron got a lot of hype, and I think Jahdae Barron is still great. I think he's still first-round talent. You'll see who I have him going to in a little bit. But Jahdae Barron is a beast. And I think he's great, but Will Johnson, he just has it. And I think the ceiling of Will Johnson is higher than it is for Jahdae Barron. And Will Johnson, again, was supposed to be such a high pick in the draft this year. And at the end of the day, the Cardinals do need help with corner. And I think Will Johnson is going to fill that hole for them very well. I think he has the potential to be one of the better corners in the NFL for years to come. And we'll see what happens with that. But I think at the end of the day, Will Johnson is the pick here. Going over to pick number 17 with the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, they're in the middle of a little bit of a dispute with Trey Hendrickson and the contract stuff. Obviously, they lose Sam Hubbard. So I think that edge is the obvious choice for them right here. And I think at pick 17, I'm going to have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. Shamar Stewart is an athletic freak. He's a freak in nature. Obviously, you go and you look at his combine. He had such a good combine. He did so well in the combine. He rose up a lot of people's draft boards and draft stocks. His draft stock rose, skyrocketed up draft boards due to his combine. He was supposed to be like an early day 2 pick, maybe a late day 1 pick. But Shamar Stewart is a stud. He is amazing. And I think him going to the Bengals makes a ton of sense. Obviously, in the middle of all the stuff going on with, Trey Hendrickson, and then obviously Sam Hubbard retiring, I think this fits in perfectly for them. Obviously, I don't want this to happen, and I want the Bengals to obviously make the worst selection possible as a Ravens fan. But I think at the end of the day, if we're being realistic, this is just the pick that the Bengals are going to do. And I think that if he's on the board, I think the Bengals take him here, and I really like this pick for them here. Going over to pick 18 with the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to have the Seahawks selecting offensive lineman and guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama. I had them picking Tyler Booker last year as well, or not last year, last mock draft as well. And I'm going to stay with this pick because I think Tyler Booker is incredible. He's a great, great player. He was kind of projected to be a late first-round pick, early day 2 pick as well. But I really don't think that Tyler Booker is going to be a guy that's going to fall like that anymore due to his pre-draft process. If you go and look at the stuff that he did with the media interviews and you look at how people interviewed him and all that stuff, Tyler Booker, the things that he was saying and the mentality that he has is incredible. And I think Mike Macdonald would love to have this a guy who he loves playing football. He mentioned it multiple times. I think Tyler Booker would fit in perfectly with Seattle, going out to protect Sam Darnold and that brand new offense as well. So I love this pick for Seattle. Going over to pick 19 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting linebacker Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. Now, this could be corner, this could be safety, or it could be, again, Jahad Campbell, the linebacker. And I love this pick for them. I think Jahad Campbell, he's 100% one of my favorite players in this draft. He's extremely versatile. He's the definition of a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. He can, drop back in coverage. He can rush the quarterback at an edge. He's great. He's a great player. I would love for him to maybe fall to the Ravens at 27, or maybe the Ravens trade up to get him. But Jahad Campbell is an incredible, incredible player. And I think the Buccaneers would be very, very lucky to have him as a staple for the future of this defense. And now at pick number 20, the Denver Broncos. I'm going to have the Broncos select. I mean, they could go a lot of different things here. But I'm going to have the Broncos selecting I'm going to have the Broncos selecting Tatori McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. Obviously, the Broncos, they could go running back here. They could go Marion Hampton here. I think that it's possible that Marion Hampton is the selection here. But at the same time, I'm just not sure that they want to possibly reach on a guy that they don't know is going to be that great. I think Omarion Hampton's great, but from the way that things I've been hearing and the way that things have been happening, I'm not sure that Omarion Hampton is going to be picked super high. I think he could be, I think he's going to be a late day one pick, as you'll see, later on in this draft where I have him going. But I think Omarion Hampton is still a great player, but Tatori McMillan is, in my opinion, an even better player. Tatori McMillan, great receiver, very good one-on-one guy. And Tatori McMillan was one of those guys where you looked at the draft process from a while ago, and he was supposed to be a guy that was going to be picked in the top 5. A lot of people had him going to the Patriots. A lot of people had him going to the Raiders at 6. But he's going to end up here at pick 20 for the Broncos. Bo Nix gets another weapon on offense, and he's got Courtland Sutton, who's already one of the best one-on-one guys in the league. Pair him up with the best one-on-one receiver in this draft in Tatori McMillan. And it's gonna be deadly. It's gonna be a deadly duo for the Broncos, and I think that Bo Nix would love this pick, and I think that this pick just makes a lot of sense for the Broncos. And at pick 21 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they could do a bunch of different things. I'm starting to think that quarterback is not in the cards for Pittsburgh, and I'm not really sure that quarterback might. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to go quarterback. I think they're going to go best player available and a player that I think that they would benefit from. And I think that if a quarterback does, I think that if another quarterback goes in this first round, which I think it would be Jackson Dart, I think it would be from another team trading up back into the first round and go and get him. But obviously I'm not doing trades in this mock because you can't really predict that. But I'm going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers going out and selecting Derek Harmon, D lineman out of Oregon. Again, Cam Hayward for the Steelers, he's getting older. This potentially is going to be his last year, and I think that the Steelers would love to go and get Cam Hayward's replacement for the future while still sticking to that, steel curtain, great D line that they have. And, as a Ravens fan, I wouldn't love this because, again, Derek Harmon, in my opinion, is great. He's skyrocketed up draft boards. I love Derek Harmon. Even as a pick for the Ravens at pick 27, I like this pick for the Ravens. But Derek Harmon, he's a beast. And I think for a lot of people, he's risen above Kenneth Grant in terms of the D lineman rankings. But Derek Harmon is an absolute beast, and I think that this makes a lot of sense for the Steelers. At pick 22 for the Chargers, at pick 22, I'm going to have the Chargers at this spot. I'm going to have them taking Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. Luther Burden's a stud. Again, there's a lot of people that have Luther Burden falling today too, but at the same time, I just don't know if that's going to be the case here. I think that the Chargers could potentially go D-line. I think that they could go edge. I think that they could go receiver. But I just got a gut feeling that Luther Burden's going to be taken day one. He's a very dynamic, quick receiver as well. Great after the catch. And I think that Jim Harbaugh would love to add that to the Chargers receiving room. Obviously, they re-signed Mike Williams, so you're going to have Luther Burden, Ladd McConkey, and Mike Williams on that for the receiving. And I really like that for them. I really like that for the Chargers. I think that can be a very solid room. And if they don't get Luther Burden here, I think that they do need to address receivers sometime later on in the draft. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is also edge or D-line, or maybe even another receiver like an Emeka Egbuka, or maybe a Tatori McMillan if he falls. But I'm going to have Luther Burden going to the Chargers. I don't know. I just got a gut feeling about this one. And with the Packers at pick 23, I'm going to have the Green Bay Packers selecting Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Obviously, the future for Jair Alexander is a little bit unknown and a little bit shaky. And also, the Packers' secondary depth isn't very good as well. And Jahdae Barron is a great corner in this draft. I think that he's actually being taken a lot lower than where he should be. But Jahdae Barron's a beast. You could argue that he's better than Will Johnson. And if Will Johnson fell to here, I would have had Will Johnson going here. But I think corner is the pick for the Packers. They really need to help with that secondary, and also with the unknown future of Jair Alexander. I think they would love to go out and get their potential cornerback one for the future. And going down to pick 24 with the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to have the Minnesota Vikings selecting... I think they could go O-line, or I think they could go safety here. But I'm going to have them actually going with safety, and I'm going to have them taking Nick Emanuwari out of South Carolina. This man is a Kyle Hamilton clone. He's a freak athlete, and I think that the Vikings would love to get some bulkiness out there in that secondary. Obviously, with Harrison Smith retiring soon, and obviously he's getting older and older and older. I think he is going to be retiring soon, and I think replacing him with Nick Emanuwari, and already a team that also worked on secondary in this offseason, they go out and make it even better with Nick Emanuwari. And all of a sudden, Minnesota turns into a no-fly zone in that NFC North. And going over to pick 25 with the Houston Texans, I'm going to have the Texans selecting a receiver right here. I'm going to have them take Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think that offensive line is in play for them here, but at the end of the day, I think they want to pair C.J. Stroud up with his former one-year receiver at Ohio State and Emeka Egbuka. Who knows what the future of Tank Dell looks like, and also when you look at them losing Stephon Diggs as well. Going into this season, it really is just Nico Collins and really just Nico Collins, to be honest with you. Obviously, they did go out and sign a couple receivers in free agency that are solid. They went on and got Christian Kirk, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I think that the Texans really also need to focus on the passing game as well, and they need receivers. And I think getting Emeka Egbuka for the future alongside of Nico Collins, alongside a hopefully returning sometime next season Tank Dell. Because Tank Dell I still think is great, but who knows if he's ever going to be the same. And I think that the Texans would love to just go out and get their receiver room done here, get Emeka Egbuka, and then from here really focus on offensive line, because I think Emeka Egbuka is the last receiver that is... Like, I think you have Emeka Egbuka, you got Luther Burden, you've got Torrey McMillan, and then Matthew Golden, and then you have those guys in a tier with them, and then whenever you go to the next receivers in this draft, like when you go to the Jaden Higgins and the Jack Beck and the Kyle Williams, Trey Harris, Xavier Restrepo, the Tez Johnsons of the world, I think there is a pretty significant gap between Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, Torrey McMillan, those guys in that group, and then the guys that I just named. So I think there's a pretty big gap. So this really would be the last solid receiver that could go in the first round for the Texans, and I think that it makes a lot of sense bringing him back to his former quarterback at Ohio State. And I think it's a great fit, but the Texans definitely need to work on their offensive line for the rest of the draft after this. And at pick 26, I'm going to have the Los Angeles Rams selecting Josh Simmons, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. Back-to-back Ohio State guys. Josh Simmons is a beast. Obviously, he was hurt this year. Injuries did affect his draft stock, but he was projected to be one of the top guys taken. And he still is, obviously, still a first-round pick. But I think what's important for the Rams right now is to go out and protect their quarterback, protect Matthew Stafford, and going out and getting Josh Simmons would do just that. And now at pick 27 with the Baltimore Ravens, there's still a ton of great players on the board. And this is also what I was saying in past mock drafts. There is so much talent on the board during this draft. There is so many great players in this draft. There is going to be amazing players that fall down at day two. And I think every single team in this first round is going to be able to walk away with a stud of a player. And if you look at the board right now, the Ravens could go, Malachi Starks in safety. They could go Donovan Ezakaru at edge. They could go Kenneth Grant. They could go James Pierce. They could go Michael Williams. Like, they could go a ton of different guys right here. But at the end of the day, from the way that the board is looking right now, I think Malachi Starks could be a big pick here. And I've had Malachi Starks going to the Ravens for a while, and he is kind of my, I would say, dream selection for the Ravens. But from what I've been hearing recently, the Ravens are looking at edge a lot. They said that they're going to go best player available. But if the board does fall like this, if this is all correct, which would be crazy if this is the exact mock draft that I've predicted it, correct until now. But if this is how the board falls for the Ravens and these two players are available, if Malachi Starks, or really three players, if Malachi Starks, Kenneth Grant, and James Pierce Jr. are available, if they draft any of those three guys, I will be absolutely jumping out of my chair excited about that pick. But right now, and how things are looking right now, I'm going to have the Ravens selecting James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. James Pierce Jr. was supposed to be a top 3, possibly even the first overall pick in the draft going into this past college football season. Obviously, he didn't have the best year this year at Tennessee, but his ceiling is incredibly, incredibly high. And I think that James Pierce Jr. to the Ravens would be a dream. Again, if they get Kenneth Grant, I would love that. If they get Malachi Starks, I would love that. And I'll go over tomorrow and Wednesday. I'm going to be doing, alongside with the Orioles recaps, I'm going to be talking about players that I would love to see the Ravens get and also explain why I would like to see that. But James Pierce Jr. to the Ravens, I'm going to have them go in that in this mock. Malachi Starks, him, or Kenneth Grant, any of those could be the pick. They make a ton of sense. I'd be happy with all of them. But for right now, I'm going to have James Pierce Jr. The Ravens are always a team that seem to land great talent. They just sit where they are, take best player available, and I think that is something that's going to happen right here. Going over to pick 28 with the Detroit Lions. I'm going to have the Detroit Lions selecting Mykel Williams, edge out of Georgia. They go out and they pair him with Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson did have an injury last year, and I think that they just need to help out with the pass rush as well. They're probably going to lose to Darius Smith. He is currently a free agent, and he's also pretty old as well. So going out pairing Aiden Hutchinson with another young, amazing edge rusher in Mykel Williams could complement that Detroit defense a lot. And obviously, Detroit's defense wasn't great last year. They also got hurt a lot. But I think going out and pairing Mykel with Hayden Hutchinson would be just a crazy, crazy duo for Detroit. And I think it's a perfect fit for them. And at pick 29, I've got the Washington Commanders, and I'm going to have them selecting Omarion Hampton, running back out of UNC. And I love this pick. If this is the pick for the Commanders, I would love this pick for them. I am very high on Omarion Hampton. I love Omarion Hampton as a player. In past mock drafts that I've done, even a couple weeks ago, I had Omarion Hampton going at number 10 to the Bears. But again, the running back position isn't very valued, and if you look at all the selections from pick 29 to pick 10, there's not a lot of teams I would even think about selecting. Not even a lot of teams I would even think about selecting running back. But again, the Commanders, they need that stud of a running back. Again, they have Brian Robinson, but he's not a guy that's going to be a needle mover. He's not going to be someone that's going to really push the boundaries and push them over the top when it comes to offensive line. And I think at the end of the day, that's what they would really need to have happen. And I think Omarion Hampton fits this team so incredibly well. And then when you go down to pick number 30 with the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills selecting Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. I would be upset with this pick. Obviously, I absolutely love Malachi Starks. He's one of the guys who I have the Ravens getting. He's a player that I would love to see the Ravens go out and get. And I think that he would be a perfect fit for Buffalo, getting another guy out there for that secondary to bolster up that secondary even more. And then going to pick number 30, I'm going to have pick number 30 with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to have the Chiefs going out and getting Gray Zabel, tackle out of North Dakota State. I think that eventually, again, as I've said this before, Trey Smith is eventually going to end up leaving. He's going to eventually end up leaving the Chiefs for another team, and I think that getting Gray Zabel would be a perfect fit for Kansas City and their future. Not too much to say about the pick. Just makes a ton of sense, and I would really like to see that. Then to pick 32 with the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to have them selecting Kenneth Grant. And I know that seems crazy for a lot of people, but again, and I've said this before, every single team in this draft I think is going to end up getting an absolute stud of a talent. I think that there is so much great talent in this draft, and I think that getting Kenneth Grant for the Eagles, obviously people would say, oh my God, they've done it again. But it just happens. Things happen in sports. It's just tradition for the Eagles at this point to go out and get a stud of a player, and they're going to sit at 32 and just get a stud of a player in Kenneth Grant. It'd be a perfect fit for them. Obviously, they lose Milton Williams. They replace him with Kenneth Grant, and the Eagles stay the Eagles, and they stay having an incredible, incredible defensive line. But that's going to be it for this mock draft. Looking at it, I like it. I do like this mock draft a lot. I do think that certain, obviously things are going to be different. Teams are going to do trades up. People are going to trade up. Things are going to happen. This probably isn't going to be perfect, but I did try my best here. I wouldn't be surprised if, certain teams pick other players instead of what I picked. But at the end of the day, this is just the mock draft that I'm going to be doing. I did my explanations for what I'm trying to do with this mock draft, and I really do love it. And I think at the end of the day, hopefully this is mostly correct. After the draft on Thursday, I'll pull this mock draft up and we can do like a little comparison on how close I was to getting it all correct. But this is the mock draft right now. Let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube and you're looking at this, or on Spotify, wherever you're listening. Just let me know about if what you would change, opinions on certain picks and whatnot. But I love what I'm seeing here with these picks, and So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Birds of a Feather. Again, it was a little bit of a longer episode because it is Mock Draft Monday. I hope you guys enjoy this content. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow up on Spotify if you like this content. And thank you guys so much for tuning into this. I'm having a great time doing this. I'm having a very fun time doing all this. Mock Draft Monday has been a lot of fun, but unfortunately this was the last one that we're going to be doing. And again, tomorrow I am going to be doing... I am going to be talking tomorrow about, players I'd like to see the Ravens get. I'm also going to be doing that again on Wednesday. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, if you like this content, sub up on YouTube, follow up on Spotify. My name is Nathan Stroud. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Ravens game. Not for the Ravens game. See you guys tomorrow for the Orioles game, and also Ravens draft analysis, talking about players that I would love to see. So I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.